Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. President George H.W. Bush has arrived in Washington, D.C. for the final time.
Across the nation, outpourings of love and support for the former president who passed away last Friday.
And tonight, the nation's 41st president is lying in state in the nation's capital.
CBS's Mola Lengi reports.
President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump made an evening visit to the Capitol Rotunda on Monday. The first couple were there to pay their respects to the 41st president, George H.W. Bush, who died on Friday. Mr. Trump's visit came hours after the conclusion of a formal arrival ceremony for President Bush's body. The event was attended by a who's who of Washington elites, past and present, including Vice President Mike Pence.
While he was known as the quiet man, it was not for lack of nerve or daring. For in all of his 94 years, President Bush never lost his love of adventure, and he never failed to answer the call to serve his country.
Also at the service, the extended Bush family, led by former President George W. Bush, who, at times, appeared to be fighting back tears.
A steady hand, staying the course. That's what George Bush gave us for decades.
President Bush will lie in state here on Capitol Hill until his funeral at the National Cathedral on Wednesday morning. Until then, the rotunda will be open to allow members of the public to pay their respects.
He was a great man, and he was a very good family man, and he loved his country. He served his country well.
Mr. Bush will be laid to rest on the grounds of his presidential library in College Station, Texas. Mola Lengi, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Former Wyoming Senator Alan Simpson, a colleague and longtime friend of George and Barbara Bush, will be one of 4 speakers to deliver the eulogy at the president's funeral Wednesday.
The colorful Simpson told us tonight his friendship with the Bush family dates back to the 1960s when his father, former Wyoming Senator Millward Simpson, sold his Washington, D.C. home to George and Barbara on a handshake, he told us. Simpson also recalled when he and his wife Ann invited George and Barbara to go camping in Glacier Park.
We had some great times. One of them was in Glacier Park with George and Barbara, just the 4 of us. Boy, we boogied around up in there. He was vice president. He was a very decent, wonderful, civilized man of great perspective, good common sense, loyalty, discipline, manners. I know manners is a sick thing. Nobody knows what the hell they are these days. But that's George, and history books, as every day goes by, will report him in a more positive way.
And as for his remarks that he'll deliver at Wednesday's funeral, Simpson said he first wrote them down when the Bush family contacted him some 5 years ago when the president first took ill and had taken a turn for the worse.
But so I've known for some time that on some unknown day I would be asked to do this, so I'm ready. I'm going to keep it light, and yet it'll be serious, but it'll be reflections of this man and his humility and his good humor and his love of America.
And he will tell it well. In addition to Simpson also delivering eulogies at Wednesday's funeral at the National Cathedral will be former President George W. Bush, former Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, and presidential historian John Meacham.
During his political career, President Bush made 4 trips to Montana.
Q2's Samantha Sullivan brings us a look back.
Thanks for this warm Montana welcome. It's outstanding.
George H.W. Bush traveled to the Treasure State as vice president back in 1988. At the time, he came to Billings, endorsing Conrad Burns for Senate.
We need him. We really need to get control of that Senate again.
While in Billings, the vice president sat down for an exclusive interview with the team at Q2.
Speaking of the vice president, we have some company.
We live as always.
Yes, we are.
During that interview, he spoke about the impending changes coming to Washington.
There is going to be wholesale change in a Bush administration, and that's not disrespectful of those who have served. It's just the process reinvigorates the system.
The next year, now as president, Bush came to help Montana celebrate its centennial.
Let me say to everyone gathered here and to all the people of Montana that it is a great pleasure for me to be back in this great state. Happy birthday, 100.
During his speech at the Capitol, the Republican president lauded the state for leading the way when it came to conservation, even planting a tree on the Capitol grounds.
This great state was once the scene of an epic battle, man against nature. Too often, the only question that matters was what man could take from the earth, not how we left it or how we put it back. Well, no more.
The president's strong environmental message was right in line with the governor, that a sound economy and the environment can flourish together.
The president would make 2 more visits to the state, both in the Magic City in 1990 and 1992. While he covered plenty of topics and issues during his visits, his message was always one of love for this country and for its people.
And as I look out over this magnificent audience, an ocean of red, white, and blue, I see America at her best. And this country's strength has always been her people. People who for generations have always helped, not only for the neighbor next door, but for the stranger in trouble down the street.
Samantha Sullivan, MTN News.
Thanks, Sammy. Again, his funeral Wednesday. Former Vice President Joe Biden was in Missoula tonight speaking at an event at the University of Montana campus. The 47th Vice President spoke and read excerpts from his best-selling books about his son's death. He's the author of Promises to Keep on Life and Politics and the #1 New York Times best-selling memoir, Promise Me, Dad, A Year of Hope, Hardship, and Purpose.
A Missoula family tonight mourning the death of their 6-year-old daughter who died this past weekend. Allison Eagles Speaker died Saturday in the Garden City as a result of influenza, pneumonia, and asthma. A GoFundMe account's been set up now to cover medical expenses, their transportation to Browning, and for the young girl's funeral in Star School. Allison's death confirmed today as the first flu-related death in Montana in the 2018-2019 flu season.
Turning to weather, Bob, the mountains have had a great few weeks.
Yeah. Well, you know, here we've had a little bit of snow in the Billings area, and it's always been what we call self-shoveling snow. It just kind of melts. But up in the mountains, they're doing well, especially in the southern part of the state. This is our snowpack survey. It's a percentage of normal. And as you can see, especially like around the Billings area, Bozeman, we're doing very well. This is up to year to date, so we're 113% of normal in the upper Yellowstone Valley drainage area. And that is right about where we should be, maybe a little bit bigger than normal. That's good. Bozeman's doing well. Now, up in the northern part of the state, they are not doing nearly as well. You notice anywhere from like 55 to about 82% of normal. In Wyoming, it's the same story there. They're way ahead of normal across the northern part of the state, a little less farther down to the south. That would make sense. And we'll have the rest of your week's forecast in a few more minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Bob.
Holiday cheer on big display in Billings yesterday. More than 300 motorcycle enthusiasts turning out for the big Road Dogs Toy Run.
Q2's Jenny Fick tagged along.
I'm a person that loves to see different people, different organizations, or different groups of people work together. Because when we do that, we do better in meeting all the needs of the community and less people fall through.
A handful of motorcycle clubs, families on ATVs and floats, and the law enforcement community make their pilgrimage to the Salvation Army Angel Tree, delivering toys.
You know, you look forward to it every year because you get to run into people you don't always see. You get to see the kids, they love it. It means a lot to me to be able to mix the military and the motorcycle community because the community does a lot to help out and the military tries to be able to give back what they can, where they can.
The Toy Run gives every child the chance to experience stocking stuffers and presents.
We donate all the toys to the Salvation Army Angel Tree. Salvation Army sets it up, they distribute the toys, we just take everything there, and all the toys stay local here.
Each year, the Salvation Army brings a bigger tree. And each year, it is buried in toys.
We went to Walmart yesterday morning at 6, and we wrote a check for $35,500, plus what everybody else has brought.
Families in need can make an appointment with the Salvation Army.
You get to see parents, you know, some of them so worried and didn't know what was going to happen at Christmas. Now they come and they get all these toys, and now they'll be able to provide a Christmas for their kid. You know, you see tears in them.
You know, bringing the biker community together and the support we get from the community to help bring smiles to the local area children who otherwise might not have a Christmas.
In its 34th year, it doesn't look like the Toy Run is slowing down anytime soon.
all these motorcycle people that are supposed to be these rough people that people might be scared of, having that tender heart, bringing all these toys for the kids. I mean, it just warms me. Road dogs love the Salvation Army, and they love kids, and that's the reason why they do it.
Year after year, this event continues to be a success. It brings joy not only to the children who benefit from the toys, but to everybody who is involved. In Billings, Jenny Fick, MTN News.
Thanks, Jenny. That was an impressive mountain of toys out there. Wow.
Up next on tonight's 10 o'clock news, hate had no place here 25 years ago, and the community came together to prove it. We'll look back at that story.
Also coming up in sports tonight, Rocky football coach Jason Petrino announces he's leaving the program after just 3 seasons. Scott Breen fills us in.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.